Hi everyone, welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yi.
I'm Wendy Yi.
And today we're going to be taking a look at the game Monasterium, designed by Arve Fuller and published by DLP Games.
So stick around and Chris is going to show you how it's played.
Here's the setup for a game of Monasterium. You'll see that players will all have these carts starting here at the beginning of this road that they'll be able to move along. They also have an individual player board. I've only got one set up just for space in the camera so you can get a nice tighter shot here. Each player will have a dice pool made up of a certain number of neutral dice, depending on the player count, and then a die of their own color. So in this case, this is an example setup of a 3-player game on the 3 to 4 player side of the board. There's also a 2-player on the reverse. Yellow and then green. Over here, we're going to use these imaginary dice pools. There's 6 objective scoring cards over here based on building into the monasteries or meeting certain requirements. And then these are the actual monasteries. There's 5 of them across the board here. What happens is this game is played over 3 years. By the end of the 3 years, whoever has the most points will be the winner. A year consists of each person being the lead player. Once this whole round is done, then the next person will be the lead player. Once that round is done, this person will be the lead player, and that concludes 1 year. Then you'd advance forward, go through the process again, and then do it a 3rd time. So what does it mean to be the lead player? Well, players are going to start by setting up the dice pool. This is a dice drafting game, but the first step of it is actually to set up the dice. So the first player would roll the dice, and then they would choose all of the dice of a single value to put out. So perhaps this person's going to put the 6 out, and then the yellow player will roll their dice, and you'll see, hey, they rolled multiple 6s. So they could either put out a 4 or a 5 or all of the 6s. Let's do that, for example. Green's going to go on, and so on and so forth, putting out all of the 2s. So now that all the players, blue, green, and yellow, have set out the dice, now begins the dice drafting phase, the action phase. Starting with the lead player, in this case blue, the lead player is going to draft dice from an area and then take their available actions. They can do up to 3 dice from the 1 through 5 area, but the number 6 area is the wild action, which lets you copy any other number, so you can only choose 1 die from there. So player 2 the first player is going to grab all of these 2s, so 3 of them. So they'll take the number 2 action, which you can see here on your player board. This is the breakdown of the player board. Across the top here are the basic actions you can always do with dice. However, if you are able to upgrade your board by taking these students and building them off of your board, then the number 2 action could be a stronger action to get better resources. So the general idea is you can get, with this person, 3 soup tokens. Hooray! So our hero has 3 soup tokens now. That is a resource that they can use to spend later to put out some of these people. So over the course of the round, people are all going to draft different dice. Green takes these ones, yellow takes these ones. The reason you have dice of your own color is that guarantees that no other player can grab that die before you. But if the green player goes and wants to grab multiple dice from the number 2 area, or any dice, they have to start by grabbing their own, then they can grab any additional ones. So the green player could grab both of these. Now when it comes back to the blue player, I could take a single 6, or I could take this 5, because it's my guaranteed action, or I could take this 1. I'm going to take the number 1 action, because the 1 is this one. Open up the door, and then the student will go off of the board, and then out into one of the monasteries. So if I wanted to upgrade an action, I take the number 1 die, I can upgrade any one of these. I have to pay a cost shown on this side, 2 resources and one of these influence tokens, or 3 resources and an influence token, because the second row has stronger actions, or I could pay influence to put these people out, or I could pay the rosary beads to put out anyone from this bottom row. So each row has a different cost and a different function. If I were to pay 3 of these soup tokens and an influence to the bank, then I can take someone out from this second row. I would, for example, grab this one right here. Now, which monastery I can put them out onto depends on where my cart is. If my cart starts right here, I have access to this monastery to the north and this one to the south. So then I will take this person here, and depending on the type of resource I paid, I can put them into that type of building. So I paid soup tokens, which means I can put them into the soup buildings over here. So either this one or this one. or because the road is connected to my cart down here, this one or this one. I'll just go ahead and do that, for example. So that's how you put a student out into an area, and now I have an unlocked better action. So later in the game, let's see on my next turn, I'm going to draft the number 6 die. I can use the 6, remember, as a wild, so I'm going to do it as activate as a number 4. I can either use it for its basic action to grab a rosary bead, or I could activate this action down here to move my cart twice. If I use my cart movement, any space that I cross over that has a bonus action, I can use that action, or a bonus, right? So you can get resources, upgrade resources. You can grab stained glass, which I'll cover in a second. Or if you reach the end of the track, you can unlock one of your dice and add it to your dice pool for all subsequent rounds. This one over here lets you take any action that you want, and so I'll take the number 1 action, and I'll pay influence now to put out one of these third row people. These people in the third row will go into the chapel. So remember, the first one I put out into a soup building. There's tool and book buildings. So these are the buildings around the outside. If I grab from the third row, I can go ahead and put that person into the chapel. Depending on the player count, there's different numbers of chapels. I realize I think I'm on the 2-player side of the board, but it's okay for demonstration purposes. There's just a few more spots in the chapels. So the third row built out into the chapel, and that's going to unlock an action for me in the future. In the future, when I draft a 4 or a 6 and use it as a 4, I can grab a piece of stained glass now from any one of the monasteries where I have one of my students as a monk in the chapel. So I could grab this piece of stained glass and then put it into my board here. You have to build from left to right in any one of the rows. If you complete rows or columns, you earn these points on the side. Every time that you put a piece into a row or column, you can choose either the column bonus along the top or the row bonus along the side. So I'm going to move 2 more spaces and then collect a bonus. So you can see there's lots of interconnectedness of the mechanisms here. Now that my piece is all the way over here, I'm connected to this monastery, or now to this one. So let's take a look at the last action. If I were to have drafted another number 1 action, I could unlock a student, and so I could pay a rosary bead and unlock someone from any column of the bottom row. So I could unlock this person here, and I could put them into a what is called a cloister. So I could either put them into the green stuff on the inside. Now here's the restriction. My cart is touching this monastery and this monastery. I cannot put students into these cloisters, the green building on the inside, because I would have to have a student in one of these outside buildings connected to one of the 2 cloisters they put them into. As I don't have that, here's another little way to be able to place people out on the board. If your cart can't reach a monastery, but if you have a student in the chapel itself, that counts as having connection. So because I'm connected to this chapel, I'm still connected to this monastery. Because I have a person in this building, I can then take someone from the bottom row and put it into this cloister or to this cloister. So I'll put it right over there. When you unlock this bottom row, you flip over the action tile, so you get a bonus. Every time that I take number 4 actions in the future, they will earn me 1 point each. And so, there you go. That's the basic idea of the game. You're going to grab resources, you're going to convert them into students out on the board in different areas, and then you're going to be upgrading actions, upgrading them so that they earn you points, moving the cart along, earning victory points from actions, grabbing the stained glass. And there's a whole little mini game. When you grab stained glass in the future, you, like I said, cannot match the same color tile in the same row or column. So this blue one can't go here because there's more in the same row or column. So I'd have to try and find ways to earn different pieces of stained glass to be able to keep building this out, earning bonuses, end game points, working towards these objectives, which are to have your different students in different parts of buildings, in different monasteries, or in this case, the C objectives are things like unlock all 3 of your dice, or get 1 piece of each of the 5 kinds of stained glass on your board. You play, as I said, 3 rounds with each person, or you play 1 round of each person being the lead player, then you advance the year. Go through the 3 rounds again, advance the year, do the 3rd year, and then whoever has the most points is the winner. So there you go, that's how you play Monasterium. Let's go ahead and talk our thoughts about the game. I'm going to say this really quick. I love dice drafting games. I love the idea of unlocking new actions and player powers on your board.
Making action stronger.
Making action stronger. I love building up patterns, and I love dry, boring Euro themes.
So you're going to love this game.
I should, but I don't. And I think you kind of feel the same way.
I think
right?
I feel the same way. I think there's so many mechanisms in here that are great, but I think the core mechanism of action selection just misses the mark. Like, it has so much potential, but then it doesn't lead to enough control, and it leads to kind of an imbalance in actions amongst people, and yeah.
Yeah, so the dice draft is a mechanism I love. And the first part of it, where you take turns loading the dice out into the central board, is, I mean, it's the dice mechanism from a game called Las Vegas, which
was one of your favorite games.
One of my favorite games.
You love that game.
And so this is a unique approach to it, where players will take turns setting out those dice and then draft from that pool. I really like that part. You know, that first time that you play, you might just say, like, you know, who knows, whatever. I'll put a couple 4s out.
Sure.
I'll put out 3 1s. Who cares, right? But I do like that, because that is the essence of control that you kind of have.
Am I going to put out one die and hope for a lot of something later? Or am I going to put out a bunch of stuff where I kind of need something? Or am I going to luck out and just be like, I need 5 5s and I got 3 of them. So
right.
We're halfway there.
So I think that's neat. I don't think it's convoluted. It doesn't even take that much time. So, you know, I don't have any real complaints about that. It's the drafting part that I just found not very fun.
Yeah, the fact that, like, you take 3 dice at a time, I feel like it's very rare that there are more than 3 dice in an area, and so you're like, well, I will take all of the ones. I can only use one of the ones, but I will take all 3 of them.
Because I just don't want the other players at the table to be able to do the number 1 action. Which, by the way, that is the number 1 action. That is the most important action in this game.
You have to take it every round, otherwise you're doing something wrong.
Endgame scoring is based on putting the students from your board out into the monasteries and the chapels and the cloister areas and stuff. Unlocking better versions of actions is dependent on that number 1 action. There's so much that really is just, it's required that you do it. And if all the number 1 dice get drafted before you take a turn, that round is not... It's harsh, you know, especially in a game that builds up like this. If you get kind of locked out of it early, it's not fun. It's not fun,
and it's so expensive to build those workers, or the students. Like, it's so expensive to get them off your board and to build that upgrade that you're worried about. The dice add this, like, worry of timing, of I want to get there first so that I can prevent anybody else from getting it and so I can use it. But if I get there first, then I can't afford anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna take all these dice really suboptimally.
Yeah, I'm gonna do really minor actions that are gonna get me almost nothing, and we're all just kind of sit there feeling terrible about ourselves.
I can't tell if I feel like it's more exacerbated in a 2-player only or like a higher player count game, but definitely we've played this, you know, just the 2 of us, and it is totally a legitimate strategy to hate draft the other person out of actions. And I wish that there were, I don't know, you know what I mean? If you can't take a die unless you actually can use it to its full function or something. I don't know, right? But that would just put more rules onto it, right?
Now, how do you feel about the individual player dice? So, like, there's 1 die of your color initially when you start, and that is guaranteed. Like, I can put it on a 5 and guaranteed, like, I can take 5.
I like that part a lot, and in fact, I feel like there's too few of them, right? And this is the, you know, thrill-seeking, fun-looking part of me. I know that maybe it wouldn't contribute to game balance and all that, like, important stuff, but I just wish that you had 2 of your own color dice to start with, and then you could go up from there. Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult to get more dice. You have to get all the way to the end of the track on the board to unlock your next die. You can only have up to 3. And we've played games where 1 person doesn't unlock any dice.
And it's harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had 3, you had 1.
Guess who won that game?
Yeah. I don't know. And so then the other thing that happens is that there are those 6 endgame, or those 6 scoring cards, the objective cards you can kind of switch out. I appreciate that. I like that there's variability between the games and stuff. I feel like 2 of them are by far the most interesting, that actually really change up how the game feels.
Okay.
There's 2 that are very different. They have nothing to do with the monasteries. They don't have anything to do with go to the red building and put a person in the cloister there, and go to the green building and put someone in the chapel there. Mm-hmm. Those objectives all feel about the same.
Yeah, run around and get specific tiles or specific locations.
Right.
Whereas those are like, get all 3 of your dice, or use up all of your cloister dudes, or something like that.
Yeah, unlock 12 of your students from your board. And I'm looking and going, ooh, yeah, can I do that before you, but can I do that before the end of the game? Mm-hmm. And that's fun. That's one of the best parts of the game, I think. Unlocking the player board actions is fun. Getting more dice is fun. Making those objectives for a particular game, stuff like that, like, ooh, okay.
You know what's really fun to me is the stained glass windows. Like, the bonuses, you're putting them out, you're getting bonuses, but you have to choose, which is stressful because I hate choosing between 2 things. I want this one, but I want this one more, but really, maybe I want this one more. But then it's also points, and so you're like, you're getting movement that you want, you're getting resources that you want, you're getting points that you want, and it's a little bit of a puzzle. You can't, duplicate on the same row or column.
It's Azul miniaturized, right?
But more fun because you have more bonuses.
But more bonus, that's true.
More bonuses and less tiles falling on the floor and breaking.
I do like that part of the board. And I feel like this speaks a lot to the fact that we've played this enough times, because the first time we played it, you hated that because you can't put the same color in the same row or column.
It annoyed me for a second. Yeah.
But I do like that part. There's so many individual component parts of this game that I like, but I feel like the combined package feels a little mean. Mm-hmm. It feels a little
unwieldy,
maybe. You just can't really do a lot of the stuff you want to, and it feels almost artificially tight because of the fact that you can grab 3 of the dice that I want. You're going to grab all 3 4s. I clearly needed the 4 action. You barely needed it. But now my whole round is pretty much spent because I couldn't do the number 4s.
And there's not a lot of, direction you can choose. A lot of it's dependent on the dice and how many of those actions there are.
Right. And the counter-argument can be, I know there's a lot of people who like this game a lot. The counter-argument could be, well, you get to load the dice out how you want. And that's true to a degree, but you're still rolling dice. If I think, okay, Wendy's going to for sure grab all 3 of the 4s that are out there, I'm just going to roll more 4s and load it up so that she takes them and I still get the leftovers. Oh, I didn't roll any 4s. Try again. Still didn't get any 4s. Try again. You know what I mean?
There's that sense to it. The dice are involved. So let's go ahead and hop to scores.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this a 6. They're, like what you said, just the core mechanism of the dice and how that works. I feel like it's too mean. I feel like it leaves me directionless. And for all the other wonderful Euro things that I enjoy about the game, I feel like that it makes it a package that I don't really want.
Interesting. Now, look, we might be accused of a groupthink on this one, because I'm also giving this actually a 6, the exact same rating.
Oh, man.
Because those same parts frustrate me. Everything that's fun about this game, I feel like I can kind of get maybe in other games and not be actively frustrated and angry while playing it because Wendy took all my 4s. You can see that she clearly didn't strike a nerve with that one.
4 is my favorite number, and that's why I took it. It had nothing to do with hate drafting.
So, yeah, I feel like I want to play other dice drafting games that do really clever, fun things like this, but don't leave me irritated. So, clever design. There's plenty of people who do like this one. If it sounds like you'd like it, maybe you will, but for us, it's not. It's a 6. All right. So that's our thoughts on Monasterium.
My name's Wendy Yi.
I'm Chris Yi.
Thanks for watching.